What is good, fellow human beings who root for the New York Jets? It is off-season time. It is draft season. The most exciting time to be a Jets fan. The hope, the optimism. Is this the year that we could finally get our first winning season since 2015? Maybe we have the draft capital to do it. We have the cap space to do it. We have the young quarterback to do it. Maybe. I think so. I really do. Let's get into some draft talk, though. Mel Kiper Jr.'s mock draft. He's got the first 10 picks out here I want to cover. Of course, the New York Jets have 4 of those first top 10 picks. We're going to go through each pick, the team, the player that they selected. I'm going to give each team a grade based on the talent of the player they chose, the value of the position they play, and whether or not it meets a position of need for that team. Starting off number 1 overall, he has the Jacksonville Jaguar selecting Ike Ekwonu, guard/tackle out of NC State. I'm going to give this an A minus. I love it because it's a mindset that I'm hoping the Jets adopt this, not only this draft, but this offseason in general. And that is going all in on your young quarterback and making sure there's no excuses, making sure do we have our guy or not at the end of these next 17 games, or maybe more than 17 games, hopefully. Now, the only reason it's not an A or an A plus is that we're not positive that Icky can play left tackle. He's a little shorter, 6'4". It's a little on the shorter end for left tackles. Usually those guys are 6'5", 6'6 plus. And I think that Evan Neal, although I like Icky better than Evan Neal, I think he's a little bit nastier as a run blocker, but Evan Neal is definitely, we know he can play left tackle. He's a plug and play left tackle day one. So I think that pick would make more sense there, but I'm going to give that an A minus because worst case scenario, you got your young quarterback, a Pro Bowl guard or right tackle. Next up, Detroit Lions. He has them selecting Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher out of Michigan. This is an A plus. This is the Joey Bosa of this class, the Miles Garrett of this class. This is a no-brainer. You get your edge rusher. I think the hometown kid is a little overrated. I think no matter where Hutch was playing this year, you're going to take the best edge rusher at 2. There's no real quarterbacks that are worth the second overall pick, so maybe they can come back. They have the Rams pick 31. Maybe they can get a value pick like a Matt Corral, Sam Howell, someone like that to put behind Jared Goff for one more year, and then try and go with their young quarterback in the following season. Next, Houston. Now, here's the pick that I thought Jacksonville would make, but it's the same idea. They want to rebuild their offensive line. Davis Mills popped as a rookie. He surprised a lot of people. So they're going to help him out. They're going to draft Evan Neal, left tackle. And Laramie Tunsil has an astronomical cap hit, so they can cut him, save 20 plus million to spend on other needs, and plug Evan Neal in right away day one as their left tackle. That's an A for me. Number 4, here come the New York Jets. First of many picks this NFL draft. He has them taking safety Kyle Hamilton of Notre Dame. That's a B minus for me, and I think Kyle Hamilton is an excellent player. An excellent player. It wouldn't be surprising to me if Kyle Hamilton made the Hall of Fame, but I was still upset with this pick, and that's because of the mindset that we just talked about with Jacksonville and Houston. Uh, Making sure goals number 1, 2, and 3 for the Jets this offseason has to be finding out for sure, do we have Zach Wilson? Do we have our young quarterback in Zach Wilson? Is he our franchise guy? And I don't know. He could be great. Jamal Adams was great for the Jets, right? At the 6th overall pick. But we got to prioritize Zach Wilson this offseason. We do, because when you don't know if you have your guy, then you're spinning your wheels 2-3 seasons, just treading water to see if you have your quarterback or not. And it's just a waste of time. So I'm going to make another mock off season video where I talk about specifically how we could pivot in a different direction here, but I'm going to give that a grade of a B. New York Jets, Kyle Hamilton at 4. Then the Giants, the fall for Tibbs, Kayvon Thibodeau, Oregon, edge rusher, ends at number 5 overall. This is an A for me. I think a top 3 talent. You get him at 5. It's a premier position of value, and the Giants have need along the defensive front 4. That's an A. He seems to be the one guy. There's one guy every year where all the gurus are saying that there's work ethic or he doesn't have the motor. I don't know. When I watch him play, the motor looks pretty damn good to me when he's throwing left tackles to the ground and chasing down quarterbacks from behind and chasing down running backs on sweeps, and he can set the edge. He can do it all. I don't have any concerns about the motor. I think that's a great pick for the Giants. Next up, we have Carolina, and he has them taking Charles Cross, another tackle. I'm going to say B plus. I like the pick. I just think after 5, there's a significant drop off in talent after Tibbs, so it's kind of a second tier here. But he is a athletically smooth, definite starting left tackle in the NFL. Reminds me of DeBrickashaw Ferguson, where he's not a physical freak, he's not a mauler, but he's super smooth. And when you watch him, he's never on the ground. He always stays upright, not a lot of penalties. So he's just going to be a solid above average starter that you can plug in and start on day one. Next, the Giants, who also have 2 top 10 picks this year. Linebacker Devin Lloyd out of Utah. That's a B minus for me. And I know we're going to hear a lot of Micah Parsons comparisons. Oh, well, the Cowboys took an off-ball linebacker really high. That's just not realistic to expect that of Devin Lloyd. Micah Parsons, who was a really good middle linebacker in college and then just turned into this dominant defensive player of the year caliber player at edge rusher. I just don't think that's a realistic expectation to put on Devin Lloyd, who I think is a really, really good player and I think is the best middle linebacker in this class. I like him better than Nakobe Dean. I think his length will allow him to be better in pass coverage than Dean. But I've seen him also like mocked in the 20s. So I think this is a little bit high, but a really good player. So that's a B minus for me. Next, Sauce Gardner. Atlanta Falcons are taking Sauce Gardner, cornerback at number 8. That's an A. This guy is shooting up draft boards. It's just some ridiculous stats. He hasn't allowed a touchdown all 3 seasons as a starter. Never allowed a touchdown. And I think this season alone, he allowed under 200 receiving yards, 6'3", 190, super smooth, great ball skills, number 1 corner in the draft. Absolutely. It's a premier position, fills a need. That's an A. Next, up 9, we have the Cleveland Browns moving up to leapfrog the Jets at 10 to come up and take wide receiver Drake London, USC. I'm going to give this a C+. This is my least favorite pick of this top 10, and mainly because you're trading up. If we look at the draft chart value, the cost that it would take to move up from 13, where the Browns were, all the way up to, well, not all the way up, but just a few spots up to 9, it would cost about a 3rd round pick. So you're talking about spending your 1st and 3rd round pick on Drake London. For me, those top 3 guys, London, Burks, and Garrett Wilson, are all on the same tier. I don't see much difference between them. And one of them is likely to be there at 13. So I think the Browns would be best suited to just stay put at 13 and take the wide receiver that comes to them. Maybe Garrett Wilson, who's right there in Ohio, or Treylon Burks. I like Drake London, but this just doesn't make sense to me to spend 2 picks on filling that wide receiver need when you don't need to. You could take that 3rd round pick and take a tight end, and Njoku might walk. So I'm going to give that a C+. Finally, rounding out the top 10, Jets are back on the clock for their 2nd pick in the top 10, and he has them going Tyler Linderbaum, the center. B+. Again, I don't love it. I like it. I get it. I understand it. It's also tough not knowing what they did in free agency. That's why a mock off season is a little bit more complete and easier to judge. If you haven't seen him, he's nasty. He's a beast. You'll see him 2nd, 3rd level taking on linebackers and safeties. He's definitely by far the top center in this class. I think he's the only center I've ever seen mocked in round 1. And it'll probably bring Jets fans back to the good old days of Nick Mangold or Kevin Mawai, mauling 2nd level defenders downfield. Now, the Jets have Connor McGovern under contract for 1 more year. That's a $9 million cap hit they could save. But the thing is, you'd want to make that cut pre-draft so then you could spend that extra capital in free agency, because after the draft, it's like, well, you've already kind of spent all your money and decided where you want to go with free agency. So at least for the 2022 season, it may not be the best move, but I'm not going to be mad about it if at number 10 we get a possible all-pro center. So that rounds out the top 10. My highest grade was Hutchinson to the Lions. That to me feels like a no-brainer. And my least favorite was Drake London costing the Cleveland Browns their first and third round picks. And the Jets, I gave a B minus to the Kyle Hamilton pick and Linderbaum at 10. I really feel like that's unlikely. I really feel, and then even at 4, say both edge rushers are gone. In this case, they're not. You got to take Tibbs there at 4. When you watch the NFL now, the only way to really stop elite offenses is to get after their quarterback. When we watch that Chiefs Bills game, that shootout, the Bills have a good secondary. The Bills have like 2 Pro Bowl level safeties. And if you can't get to these elite quarterbacks, if you give Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen all day to run around, it almost doesn't matter what you have in the secondary. They're going to find a way to beat you. They're going to find a weak link. And we watched the LA Rams win the Super Bowl because they were able to dominate with their front 4 and eat Joe Burrow alive in the second half. And a safety, there's some really good safeties in the free agency market this year. Marcus Williams, Jesse Bates. Every offseason, there's a couple safeties that are Pro Bowl level that you can sign. But those edge rushers, you don't see 25-year-old elite level double-digit sack edge rushers come available in free agency. Those guys get franchise tagged. Those guys get signed to long extensions, or they get traded for a haul of picks. So that's my mindset in the top 10. I want to get one of those 3 positions that's really hard to get in free agency. That's quarterback, that's left tackle, that's edge. You got to draft those guys. So that's why safety and center, to me, I can get a safety and an interior offensive lineman in the offseason every year. So I'm not thrilled about that. I get it. But those are my grades. Draft picks 1 through 10. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to make I have one full mock offseason video where I kind of tried to spread the wealth a little bit, plug as much holes as possible. It wasn't too sexy, but I'm going to make a mock offseason number 2 where I just ball out and go with the opposite mindset and just go quality over quantity. So I'm going to release that video tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought about my grades. Where did I mess up? Where do you agree with me? And as always, go Jets.